Okay, let's get into this. Imagine this scenario. You wake up, check the news, and there's a picture of, well, a guy from your street, maybe someone you even, I don't know, carpooled with to church.
Right.
And the news says this quiet, totally average neighbor, he's actually one of America's most wanted, been on the run for almost 20 years.
For murdering his whole family.
Exactly. It's that chilling contrast, isn't it? The normal life facade just hiding something. Yeah, monstrous. Makes you question things.
It really does.
Absolutely. So today we're doing a deep dive into the case of John List. This is a man who, back in 1971, committed this just unthinkable crime, vanished completely, it seemed.
Off the face of the earth.
Right. And then almost 18 years later, he gets caught. And how he got caught involves some really groundbreaking forensic work and a tip from someone watching TV.
Yeah, we've gathered quite a bit of material here, articles, research. We're really aiming to look into his life, the horrific events of that specific day, his time as a fugitive, which was remarkably long, and how he was finally brought to justice.
So our mission here isn't just to list the facts, right? It's to try and unpack the motivations List himself claimed, which are deeply disturbing, explore how someone could actually hide like that in plain sight for so long.
And look at the specific things that finally led to his capture. It's a case that, it brings up big questions about identity, deception, and what happens when someone's internal world just collapses outwardly.
Okay, so let's go back. Before the crime. Who was John List before November 1971? The sources paint this picture of a man sort of steeped in tradition, expectation, born September 17th, 1925, Bay City, Michigan, an only child.
Yeah, and you see that religious aspect early on. He was a devout Lutheran, like his father, taught Sunday school. That faith element becomes, well, a really twisted part of the story later.
Definitely. His education, his career path, it all looks very structured, very conventional. University of Michigan, degrees in business admin, accounting. Got his commission through ROTC.
Served in the Army, WWII, lab tech stuff.
Yeah.
Then recalled for the Korean War. That's where the accounting background came in, got him into the finance corps. So, solid background, military service.
And that's where he met his wife, Helen Morris Taylor.
At Fort Eustis, Virginia, yeah. She was a widow, had a daughter, Brenda. They got married in December 51. After the service, they moved around a bit, California, then back to Michigan, Detroit, Kalamazoo areas.
And they have 3 kids of their own.
Patricia, Frederick, and John Frederick. And his career was, moving up, higher accounting roles. But even then, the research shows there were already, significant problems brewing at home, especially with Helen.
What sort of problems?
Well, increasing instability, alcoholism, and crucially, something she apparently hid from him for 18 years. She had untreated syphilis from her first marriage.
18 years. Wow.
Yeah. And his stepdaughter, Brenda, she got married and moved out in 1960, so another change in the family setup.
Okay, but his career kept moving forward.
It did. Moved the family to Rochester, New York. He worked for Xerox, became director of accounting services. Then the big move in 65 to Jersey City.
Yeah.
VP and controller at a bank there.
And this is when they move into the house.
Breeze Knoll. Yeah, that huge 19-room Victorian mansion in Westfield, New Jersey. Quite the place. And it wasn't just them. His mother, Alma, lived in an attic apartment.
So from the outside, it looks like success, established life, wealthy town.
Exactly. Which makes what happened next just so incredibly jarring.
Let's get to that day, November 9th, 1971. The details are just chillingly methodical.
They really are. The date's specific. November 9th, inside Breeze Knoll.
And the victims. He had wife Helen, his mother Alma, and all 3 kids, Patricia, Frederick, John Frederick, 5 people.
He used 2 guns, a 9mm Steyr pistol, and his father's .22 revolver. The timeline they pieced together, it's cold.
It starts after the kids are at school. First, his wife Helen, shot in back of the head.
Then his mother, Alma, shot above her left eye.
Then the kids come home from school.
Patricia and the younger son, Frederick. As they came in, he shot them too, back of the head.
And after killing 3 family members.
He stopped, ate lunch.
That detail, it's just, how do you even process that, the disconnect?
It points to, maybe extreme compartmentalization.
Yeah.
Or just a total detachment from reality.
Okay.
After lunch, he went to the bank, closed his accounts. Then he drove to his older son, John Frederick's soccer game.
Wait, he went to the soccer game knowing what he'd just done and what was waiting at home?
Yes. Watched the game, drove John Frederick home, and the evidence suggested the son, John Frederick, might have fought back a little, But List shot him multiple times.
So after all that, he starts setting up the scene to buy time.
Right. Placed his wife and kids' bodies on sleeping bags
Yeah.
in the ballroom.
Oh.
Left his mother's body up in her apartment.
And he left a letter, didn't he?
Yeah, a 5-page letter to his pastor. Left it in his study. And that letter, plus what he said later, that's where we get his claimed reasons.
And those reasons, it's such a disturbing mix. What'd he actually say?
He basically said he saw too much evil in the world, that he was saving their souls, making sure they go to heaven, and he hoped to join them there someday. It's just a horrifying twist on religion.
But there were real-world pressures, too, massive ones.
Oh, absolutely. Huge financial problems. He'd lost that bank job, was hiding it from everyone. He was secretly taking money from his mother's accounts. The family was stretched thin despite living in that mansion.
And the situation with his wife, Helen.
Yeah, the syphilis, the alcoholism.
Yeah.
We mentioned she'd hidden the illness for years. Reports from the trial described her as becoming sort of an unkempt and paranoid recluse, someone who'd even humiliate him publicly.
And he had this absolute aversion to welfare.
Right. He saw it as the ultimate humiliation, said it went against everything his father taught him. So in his mind, he claimed he had only 2 choices left: face the shame of welfare or kill them all to save their souls.
It's impossible to grasp that logic. Financial trouble, shame, fine, but to leap to that and justify it with religion.
It really shows how these pressures, when filtered through a mind that's maybe rigid, maybe already fractured, can lead to something so utterly irrational, so violent. The psychiatrist later diagnosed him with obsessive-compulsive personality disorder, suggested he got fixated, saw only these 2, extreme outcomes.
So after the murders, the cover-up begins. It was pretty elaborate.
Very. Cleaned the crime scenes, took his own picture out of family photos around the house, even tuned a radio to a religious station, and just left it playing.
And actively tried to mislead people? Sending notes?
Yeah, notes to the schools, to part-time jobs the kids had, saying they were all going to visit their grandmother in North Carolina because she was sick.
But she wasn't actually expecting them.
She was sick, but she'd canceled the visit. Chillingly, Liz later said if she had come, she would have been the 6th victim.
He stopped the milk, the mail, the newspapers too. And it worked. For a while.
It did, almost a month. The murders happened November 9th, weren't discovered until December 7th.
How were they finally found?
Neighbors got suspicious. All the lights in this huge mansion were on, 247. Then bulbs started burning out. Place looked partially dark. Still no sign of anyone. They called the police.
And the police found a way in.
Through an unlocked basement window, eventually. And then they found the scene inside.
For a town like Westfield. Wealthy. Quiet. This must have just been an earthquake.
Huge shock. National news instantly. Big manhunt launched, but hampered because, like we said, he'd removed recent photos of himself. They found his car at JFK Airport, but no proof he actually got on a plane. He just vanished.
And the house, Sprees Knoll, what happened to it?
Stood empty for a while. Then, August 72, about 9 months after the murders, it burned down.
Arson.
Ruled arson, yeah. But never solved. There was a rumor about a valuable Tiffany glass skylight in the ballroom being destroyed in the fire, too.
So List disappears, starts over completely. What do we know about those nearly 2 decades he was gone?
He took a train, New Jersey to Michigan, then headed out to Colorado. By early 72, he settled near Denver.
Under a new name. Robert Peter Clark.
Bob Clark, yeah. Took the name from a guy he knew in college, apparently. Though the real Bob Clark knew nothing about it. And under that name, he gets accounting jobs again. Even worked as a controller for a paper box company for quite a few years.
So he wasn't exactly hiding in a shack somewhere. He was blending in.
That's the really unsettling part. He joined a Lutheran church again, just like before. Even ran a carpool for church. He was recreating a version of his old life, keeping up that respectable front.
And he remarried.
He did. Met a woman, Dolores Miller, at a church gathering. They married in 1985. Then in 88, they moved together to Midlothian, Virginia. He just kept working as an accountant, living this quiet suburban life.
Was there some talk about him in the D.B. Cooper case? I seem to remember that.
Yeah, briefly. The timing of his disappearance was close to the skyjacking, the late 71. And there was maybe a slight resemblance to Sketches, plus, he was a fugitive. But after they caught him, he denied it. And the FBI doesn't consider him a suspect. It was mostly just speculation.
Still, it's just amazing he pulled it off for so long, hiding in plain sight. But the past eventually caught up, and a TV show was key.
America's Most Wanted, May 1989. Almost 18 years to the day, practically. They featured the List case.
And they didn't just show old photos, did they? They had something new.
That's right. A forensic artist, Frank Bender, created this age-progressed clay bust. Not just a drawing, a 3D sculpture, showing how List likely looked after all that time. It was pretty pioneering work back then.
And apparently incredibly accurate.
Uncannily so. That bust is actually in museums now. And it was seeing that bust, plus hearing the details on the show.
That triggered the tip.
Exactly. A former neighbor from his Denver days, someone who knew him as Bob Clark, saw the show, saw the bust, recognized him immediately. They called the authorities.
Wow. And the arrest followed pretty quickly.
Less than 2 weeks later, June 1st, 1989, arrested him right at his accounting job in Richmond, Virginia.
Did he confess right away?
No. He stuck to the Bob Clark alias for months, even after they extradited him back to New Jersey. It wasn't until February 1990 when they hit him with a hard evidence fingerprints from his military records matched prints found at the crime scene all those years ago that he finally admitted who he was.
So, the trial. He testified, right? Trying to explain.
Yeah, talked about the money problems, Helen's health and behavior, trying to paint a picture of his mental state at the time.
And the psychiatric testimony came in there, too.
The court-appointed psychiatrist testified about the obsessive-compulsive personality disorder, supporting List's claim, in a way, that he saw only those two awful choices, welfare or murder.
The verdict wasn't really a surprise, though.
No. April 12, 1990, convicted, 5 counts of first-degree murder. At the sentencing, he did express some regret, asked for forgiveness, but still seemed to kind of deflect direct responsibility.
And the judge wasn't having it.
Not at all. Gave him 5 consecutive life sentences, maximum penalty. Said List was, quote, without remorse and without honor.
Did he appeal?
He did. Tried arguments based on PTSD from the military and whether the letter to his pastor should have been confidential. But the appeals were rejected.
Did he ever seem to show genuine remorse later on?
Well, there was that 2002 interview with Connie Chung. He did talk about regret then, praying for forgiveness. But his reason for not committing suicide back in '71, that was still chilling.
What was the reason?
He believed suicide was a sin that would absolutely prevent him from getting into heaven. And he wanted to be reunited with his family there, the family he'd killed, supposedly, to send them to heaven. It's just...
Yeah. So John List died in prison eventually.
Yeah, March 21st, 2008, he was 82, died from complications of pneumonia, still serving his sentence in New Jersey.
He got that nickname, the Boogeyman of Westfield.
He did. And the story, I mean, it's definitely seeped into pop culture, inspired parts of movies, TV shows, books. You see echoes in things like the Stepfather movies, maybe even Kaiser Sosie's, the usual suspects. That idea of the criminal who vanishes creates a whole new persona.
And lots of true crime coverage, documentaries.
Oh, yeah. Forensic Files, American Justice. I actually interviewed him for that one. Your Worst Nightmare. There's a podcast, too, Father Wants Us Dead.
And very directly, that character in the Watcher series on Netflix, John Graff.
Right. John Graff is basically John List. Accountant, Lutheran, kills the family, including the mother living with them, leaves music playing, plans the delayed discovery. It's all there. Very specific parallels.
So, wrapping this up, we've followed John List from this outwardly respectable life through an absolutely horrific crime, almost 2 decades living a lie, and then finally, justice.
And those claimed motives, the money, the shame, the terrifyingly twisted religious justification, it really gives you a disturbing look at how someone's internal world, their pressures and their broken way of seeing things, can just explode into violence. A real reminder that what you see isn't always what you get.
For sure. And the case itself, it really does highlight, police persistence, the importance of forensic advances like that bust, and how much public awareness shows like America's Most Wanted can make a difference even years later.
Yeah, it shows that even if someone tries to completely erase who they were, the truth has a way of catching up, especially with technology and, well, people paying attention.
It really makes you stop and think, doesn't it? About the people you just, pass on the street or work with. How much do we ever really know about what's going on behind the facade? It's a pretty chilling thought, the potential for these hidden lives right under our noses.